The market was loud. Traders shouted prices, ships landed and took off, and the smell of smoke and metal filled the air. It was a place where anything could be sold: food, weapons, strange tools, even living beings. At the center of the market stood a cage. Inside it sat a figure, silent and still. She was thin, her skin pale and marked with scars. Chains still hung from her wrists, broken and useless now. Her eyes were lowered, empty, like she had stopped caring long ago. She was not human. Her face was sharp. Her skin carried faint, strange lines that almost glowed under the light. The seller, a fat alien with 4 eyes, stood on a small platform. He laughed as he shouted to the crowd, 10 credits only, 10 credits for this broken thing. She cannot fight, she cannot serve, she is worth less than a tool. But maybe one of you wants her for scraps. The crowd laughed. Some threw small stones at the cage. Others spat on the ground. "She is nothing," one trader shouted. "A broken slave," another mocked. "Not even worth a meal." The woman inside did not react. She only sat in silence, her thin hands resting on her knees. Her eyes were dull, but deep inside, something faint still burned. A spark, hidden, but alive. The auction went on. Buyers came and left, but no one raised a hand for her. The seller grew annoyed. "Fine, 10 credits, that is all. If no one takes her, I will dump her outside the city for the rats." The crowd roared with laughter again. To them, she was useless, a piece of trash. But then, someone stepped forward. A man. Human. He wore a plain jacket, dust on his boots, and his eyes were calm but sharp. He did not look rich nor powerful. He looked ordinary. Yet when he stepped into the circle, the crowd grew quiet. "I'll take her," the human said. His voice was steady. The seller blinked his 4 eyes. "You? A human? 10 credits. You, pay now." The man pulled a small pouch from his belt. Inside were a few shining coins. 10 credits. He placed them on the seller's table without another word. The seller laughed loudly. "Foolish human, you waste money. She will die in a week. She is broken." The crowd began to laugh again, pointing fingers, mocking the human. But he did not answer them. He only walked to the cage. The seller unlocked it with a hiss and threw the key aside. The door creaked open. For the first time, the woman lifted her eyes. She looked at the human standing before her. She expected another master, another cruel face. But his eyes were different. They were not cold. They were not cruel. They were calm. "Come," the human said simply. He held out his hand. Slowly, with weak legs, she stood. Her chains rattled softly. She stepped out of the cage closer to him. The crowd booed, laughed, and shouted insults, but she heard none of it. Her eyes stayed on him. He guided her through the market. People moved aside, sneering and spitting. Some shouted, 10 credits for trash. Stupid human, you bought death. But he did not turn back. He only walked forward, steady and quiet, leading her away from the noise, away from the cage. They reached the edge of the market. The ships hummed in the sky above. She looked at him again, confused. "Why?" she whispered, her voice rough and dry from silence. The human looked at her, and for a moment, there was a pause. He did not smile, he did not laugh, he only said, "Because no one deserves to be left in a cage." She did not understand. No one had ever said such words to her. In her world, she had always been a number, a tool, a piece of property. And yet this stranger had given 10 credits for her, not to own her, not to use her, but simply to take her away from the laughter. The market grew smaller behind them. The noise faded. The crowd forgot them quickly, already moving to the next sale, the next fight, the next prize. But for her, something had changed. She walked beside him, weak but still standing. For the first time in years, her chains were gone. For the first time in years, someone had looked at her not as a slave, not as broken, but as something else. Her eyes lowered again, but now they hid something new. A spark, and though she did not yet know it, that simple choice. The humans. 10 credits was the beginning of something far greater. A story that would shake the stars and prove her true worth. The humans' small quarters were quiet. A single lamp glowed faintly, throwing long shadows across the walls. Outside, the night was restless. Ships hummed in the distance, voices from the market echoed faintly, but inside there was only silence. She sat in the corner, her knees pulled close to her chest. She did not trust this place yet. The chains were gone, but the weight of years still clung to her. The human had given her food and clean water, yet she touched nothing at first. She only watched him with sharp, uncertain eyes. He did not speak much. He moved slowly, carefully, as if he knew sudden actions would scare her. He prepared a small meal, placed it near her, and stepped back. She stared at the plate for a long time before finally lifting a piece to her mouth. The taste was strange, but warm. She ate in silence, her eyes lowering again. The human sat at the other side of the room, checking the tools in his bag. His hands were rough, marked with scars of old battles. He looked like someone who had traveled many worlds but carried no pride. He was not rich, not powerful, yet there was something steady in him, something that did not shake even under the crowd's laughter earlier that day. Hours passed. She stayed awake, her body tense, expecting at any moment to be ordered, struck, or chained again. But no command came, no cruelty, only silence. When the human finally lay down to rest, she stayed awake, staring at the dim ceiling. And then, something strange happened. Her skin began to glow. Faint, soft lines appeared across her arms and neck, glowing like liquid light beneath her flesh. The marks moved slowly, alive, almost like they were breathing. They were not scars. They were something deeper, something written into her very being. She pressed her hands against her skin, trying to hide the light, but it was too late. The human had woken. He sat up, his eyes narrowing as he saw the glow. He did not reach for a weapon, did not shout. He only watched. "What are you?" he asked softly. Her body trembled. For a long time she said nothing, but then, in a weak, broken voice, she whispered her first word since the market. "Safe?" The human's expression softened. He nodded once. "You are safe here." Her eyes filled with doubt. She had heard promises before. She had seen kindness, used as a trap. But there was something different in his tone, something she could not explain. Still, she shook her head. "No safe, never safe." Her voice cracked like dry wood. The glow on her skin dimmed slowly, fading back into silence. She looked away, her body curling tighter in the corner. But the human did not press her with questions. He did not demand answers. He only said, "Rest. No one will touch you here." She closed her eyes, not because she believed him, but because she was too tired to keep them open. The next day was quiet. He worked on repairing a small device, a communicator perhaps, while she watched from the corner. He left food for her again. She ate, slower this time, but with less fear. As the day passed, her eyes wandered to his tools, his hands, his calm face. Why had he bought her? Why had he wasted 10 credits on someone the galaxy called broken? At last, she whispered again. "Why?" The human looked up from his work. "Because you were left in a cage." She frowned, confused. "Others, leave me, no one cares, I care," he said simply. Those words cut deeper than chains. She did not know what to say, so she said nothing. That night the glow returned, stronger this time. The marks lit up the room, patterns running along her arms, across her chest, even up to her face. She gasped, trying to hide them, but the light was too bright. The human stood. He did not back away. He stepped closer, his eyes fixed on the symbols. "They're not scars," he said. "They're something else." She shook her head quickly. "No, dangerous. They will come." "Who?" Her voice trembled. "Hunters. Soldiers. Empire. The word hung in the air like a shadow. The human frowned, silent for a long moment. Then he said, "Why would they hunt you?" She wrapped her arms around herself, glowing like a small star in the corner of the dark room. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Because I am not just slave. I am key." The human's eyes sharpened. He understood little, but enough to know this. She was not what the market believed. She was not worthless. She was dangerous, valuable, and now she was his responsibility. As the glow faded once more, the night grew still again. She curled up, finally drifting into uneasy sleep. The human sat awake, staring at the ceiling. He had spent only 10 credits, but what he had taken from that market was no broken slave. It was something greater, something the galaxy would kill, to reclaim, and he knew deep down that his life would never be the same again. The night sky above the colony was restless. Engines thundered as a black warship cut through the clouds, its hull covered in sharp markings that glowed red like fire. The market below grew silent as people looked up, their laughter and noise fading into fear. They knew what that ship meant. Hunters had arrived. The ship landed with a heavy thud outside the city walls. Dust rose into the air as its ramp lowered. Out stepped soldiers in black armor, tall and merciless. Their helmets covered their faces, glowing eyes shining like burning coals. Each carried a rifle that hummed with deadly energy. At their front walked a figure taller than the rest. His armor was heavier, marked with scars of battles won. He looked down at the colony with contempt. His voice boomed through a speaker. "Find the girl. She belongs to the Empire." Inside the small quarters, the human sat sharpening a blade. The faint glow of the alien woman's marks had faded after the night before, but her words still rang in his mind. "They will come." Now, outside, he heard the heavy footsteps. He stood slowly, his hand on his weapon. She felt it too. Her body stiffened, her eyes wide. "They are here," she whispered. The human moved to the window. Shadows of soldiers passed through the streets, their boots striking the ground like drums of war. He turned back to her. "If they're hunting you, then they'll come here." She nodded weakly, fear trembling in her voice. "They always find me. No place is safe," but the human's eyes were firm. "Then we'll make it safe." The soldiers spread across the colony, their scanners glowing as they searched every home, every corner. Traders hid behind their stalls, pretending not to see. No one dared resist. Everyone knew what happened when the Empire came. Resistance was crushed and the guilty burned. One soldier stopped at the market cage where she had once sat. The seller bowed low, his 4 eyes wide with fear. "I swear, I sold her. A human bought her. Only 10 credits. She's gone." The soldier raised his rifle, but the leader stopped him with a gesture. "Then we hunt the human." Back in the quarters, the alien woman shook her head, her hands clutching her arms as if trying to hold herself together. "You should leave. Me. If they catch you with me, they will kill you." The human looked at her, calm but unshaken. "I didn't buy you to throw you away." She stared at him, stunned. She had known only betrayal, cruelty, and fear. No one had ever said such words to her. The heavy sound of boots grew closer. The human pulled a small pistol from his belt and slid a knife into his boot. He turned to her. "Stay behind me." The door shook as fists pounded against it. "Open!" a soldier's voice demanded. Silence. The human did not move. Another strike rattled the door. Metal bent, wood cracked. The alien woman's skin began to glow again, brighter this time, as if reacting to danger. "They will not stop," she whispered. The human glanced at the light on her skin, then back at the door. His voice was steady. "Then neither will we." The door burst open. Black armored soldiers stormed in. Their rifles rose, but the human was already moving. His blade slashed, quick and sharp, cutting through armor joints. One soldier fell with a cry. The pistol barked, shots ringing through the room. Another soldier collapsed. The alien woman gasped, her glowing marks flaring. Brighter. The remaining soldier turned his rifle toward her, but before he could fire, she raised her hand. The light surged, pouring from her skin into the weapon. Sparks exploded as the rifle shut down, twisting in the soldier's grip like it had been melted from inside. The soldier screamed, dropping the useless weapon. The human finished him with a strike. Silence. Smoke filled the small quarters. 3 bodies lay still on the floor. The alien woman trembled, staring at her glowing hands. I didn't mean... The human cut her off with a calm voice. You saved us. She shook her head. No. Now they know. They will send more. Stronger. They will never stop. He looked at the bodies, then at her, his jaw tightened. Then we run, but if they come, we fight. Outside, alarms sounded. The leader of the hunters stood on the ship ramp, watching as his soldiers carried back the broken signal of the fallen. He listened to their last transmissions, static-filled screams cut short by light and blade. His eyes glowed red. The human interferes, he said coldly. Kill him. Bring the girl back alive. The soldiers bowed and spread out again, hunting faster, harsher. In the small quarters, the human packed his bag quickly. Weapons, food, fuel cells. He moved with purpose. The alien woman sat by the wall, her body still glowing faintly. She looked at him with fear, but also something else, a spark of hope she did not dare trust yet. Why? She asked again. Why fight for me? The human paused, his hand resting on his blade. He turned to her, his voice calm but fierce. Because no one owns you, not anymore. She stared at him, her breath caught in her chest. She had been bought for 10 credits, mocked as worthless, hunted as property. But in that moment, in his words, she felt something she had never felt before. Worth. And though the night outside was filled with danger, those soldiers hunted them with fire and steel, for the first time she believed that maybe, just maybe, she was not broken after all. The ship's engines hummed as it cut through the night sky, leaving the colony behind. Inside the small cabin, the human sat at the controls, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Behind him, the alien woman sat quietly, her arms wrapped around her knees, her skin still glowing faintly. The glow was no longer weak. It pulsed in waves, moving like living rivers beneath her skin. She tried to hide it under the torn cloth of her sleeves, but it was useless. The light seeped through, whispering secrets she wished would stay buried. At last, the human broke the silence. You have to tell me, he said firmly. What are those marks? Why do they hunt you? Her eyes dropped. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, in a low voice heavy with fear, she whispered, I was made. The human frowned. Made? She looked up, her strange glowing eyes meeting his. Not born like you. Not free. Empire made me in a lab. I was built with codes that can speak to machines. I am their key. Her voice shook as she spoke. But once she started, the words would not stop. They carved the marks into me, burned them into my skin. Not just symbols, they live inside me. With them I can open locked gates, break armies, even control ships. To them I am not alive. I am tool, weapon, property. She touched her arms, tracing the glowing lines, with trembling fingers. When I escaped, they swore to take me back. No matter where I hide, they will find me. To the Empire I am too valuable to lose. The human listened in silence, his face unreadable. At last he asked, And if they get you again? Her eyes dimmed. They will chain me, use me to destroy. I would rather die than go back. The ship rocked slightly as it entered deep space. The human adjusted the controls, his jaw tight. So you're not broken, he said after a moment. You're dangerous. She flinched at the word, but he continued. That's why they want you. Not because you're weak, but because you're powerful. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. No one had ever said that to her before. All her life she had been told she was nothing, broken, worthless. Even the market laughed at her, selling her for 10 credits. And now here was a human calling her powerful. Her chest tightened. You don't understand. Power is curse. Wherever I go, people suffer, they die because of me. The human looked back at her, his eyes steady. People die because of the Empire, not because of you. She stared at him, struggling with the weight of his words. Could it be true? Could she really believe she was not the curse, but the victim? Hours passed in silence. The hum of the ship was the only sound. She sat still, but inside, her heart battled with memories. Cold labs, chains biting into her skin, cruel voices, calling her property. And yet, against all of that, was the memory of the human's voice at the market. Come. The memory of his blade cutting down soldiers. His calm words. No one owns you. Not anymore. For the first time in her life, her chest felt lighter. But then the ship's alarm rang. Red lights flashed on the console. The human cursed under his breath, his hands flying across controls. What is it? She asked, fear returning to her voice. They've locked onto us, he said. Empire ships. They're faster. Her marks glowed brighter as panic spread through her. They found me again. I told you they always find me. The human's jaw tightened. Then, we use what you are. Show me what those marks can do. She froze, shaking her head. No, if I use them, I reveal more. They will know exactly where we are. They already know, he said sharply. If you don't fight, we're dead. Her breath came fast. She looked down at her glowing hands, trembling. All her life, her powers had been chains. Now he asked her to use them as wings. She closed her eyes. The marks burned brighter. Lines of light spread across her skin, wrapping her like armor made of fire. The air around her vibrated with energy. She placed her hand on the ship's console. At once, the systems came alive. Lights blinked faster, engines roared louder. The human stared in shock as the entire ship responded like it had been reborn. She whispered, her voice filled with power. I speak their language. Outside, the Empire ships closed in, their weapons charging. But her marks flared, sending waves of energy across the void. Enemy engines sputtered, their shields flickered. One by one, the pursuing ships fell back, powerless. The human grinned for the first time. Now that's worth more than 10 credits. The glow faded slowly, leaving her drained, sweat on her skin. She pulled her hand back, gasping for breath. The ship sailed free once more. He looked at her, his expression softer now. You're not broken. You're the strongest person I've met. She shook her head weakly, whispering, I don't want to be weapon. You don't have to be, he said. You choose what you are now, not them. Her eyes widened at his words. Choice. A word she had never been given. A gift, more valuable than freedom. She looked out the window at the endless stars. For the first time, she did not see only hunters in chains. For the first time, she saw possibilities. And sitting beside her, guiding the ship through the dark, was a human who had paid 10 credits to change her destiny. The colony burned. Flames spread through the streets as black-armored soldiers stormed, in rifle-spitting fire, voices shouting orders. Traders screamed and ran, ships tried to flee, but many were shot down before they could lift off. The Empire had come not just to find one runaway, but to punish the whole place for daring to hide her. From the shadows, the human and the alien woman ran together. Smoke stung their eyes. The ground shook beneath their boots as explosions tore through nearby buildings. Soldiers marched in formation, scanning the streets, their helmets glowing red. They are everywhere, she whispered, fear choking her. Words. The human held her hand firmly, pulling her through the chaos. Then we find a way through. Don't stop. Her marks pulsed under her skin, glowing faintly even though she tried to suppress them. The closer the soldiers came, the brighter they grew, as if her body was answering the call of danger. She knew the glow would give them away, but she could not control it. Ahead, a patrol blocked their path. 4 soldiers raised their rifles. The human acted without hesitation. His blade flashed in one hand, his pistol in the other. He moved with speed and precision, striking before they could fire. 2 soldiers fell, armor split open. The others fired wildly, shots sparking off walls. The alien woman cried out, lifting her hand. Her marks blazed, sending a burst of light into the rifles. The weapons crackled, then exploded in the soldiers' hands, dropping them to the ground. In pain, smoke filled the alley. The human pulled her forward. "We don't stay, we keep moving." Her chest heaved. She had used her power again, and each time she did, she felt the Empire tighten its grip on her, like invisible chains pulling closer. But she followed him anyway. The colony's spaceport lay ahead, a sea of fire and wreckage. Dozens of ships were destroyed, their hulls broken and burning. Only a few remained intact, guarded heavily by soldiers. The human stopped at the edge of the port, scanning quickly. His eyes narrowed on a small cargo ship half hidden behind smoke. "That one. We take it." She shook her head. "Too many guards." He glanced at her glowing arms. "Not if we work together." Her breath caught. She hated the power inside her, hated being used as a tool. But now, as soldiers closed in from behind, she understood. If she did nothing, they would die. She nodded once. Together. They ran into the open. The guards turned instantly, rifles aiming. Shots blazed through the smoke. The human rolled aside, firing back. His aim was sharp, dropping one soldier, then another. The alien woman raised both hands. The marks flared brighter than ever before. Energy leapt from her fingers like lightning, striking the weapons, the engines, even the ground itself. The port shook as machines sparked and collapsed. Soldiers cried out, blinded by the sudden storm of light. The human charged through the confusion, cutting down the last guard at the ship's ramp. He grabbed her hand, pulling her inside. "Go!" The ship's engines whined as he slammed the controls. The vessel groaned, then lifted into the sky, fire raging beneath it. But the Empire was ready. From the warship above, a squadron of fighters launched, black wings slicing through the clouds. Their cannons lit the sky, chasing the small cargo, ship like predators hunting prey. The human's hands flew across the controls, dodging fire, weaving between blasts. The ship shuddered under hits, alarms screaming. "They're too fast," she said, clutching the seat. He gritted his teeth, then slowed them down. Her marks glowed until the cabin was filled with light. She pressed her hands against the console. The ship responded instantly, engines roaring with power. The fighters closed in, but suddenly, their weapons sputtered. Their targeting systems froze. One by one, their engines shut down, leaving them drifting helpless in the sky. The human guided the cargo ship past them, straight into the stars. For a moment, silence returned. The colony burned far below, smoke rising into the night. The Empire fighters floated uselessly, their systems dead. Only the massive warship remained behind them, watching. Inside the cockpit, the alien woman slumped back, drained, sweat dripping from her brow. Her glow faded, leaving her pale and trembling. The human steadied the ship and looked at her. "You did it." Her eyes were wide, full of fear. "I gave myself away. Now they know I am here. They will not stop." He placed a hand on the console, steady and calm. "Let them come." She turned her head, staring at him in disbelief. He had seen her curse, her terrible power, and yet he was not afraid. He did not see her as broken. He saw her as an ally. The ship disappeared into the void, leaving the ruined colony behind. But the hunt was far from over. On the warship, the armored leader watched the cargo vessel escape into the stars. His red eyes narrowed. "Send word to the fleet," he ordered. "The girl has revealed her power. The human protects her. Together they are dangerous. We will not stop until she is ours again." Back inside the small cargo ship, the alien woman looked out at the endless dark of space. She whispered softly, more to herself than to him. "I was sold for 10 credits. Worthless, they said. But now the Empire fears me." The human adjusted the course, his voice calm, steady as always. Not worthless, never worthless, you're worth fighting for. Her chest tightened. Tears filled her eyes, though she quickly blinked them away. For the first time, she let herself believe his words. For the first time, she began to believe she might have a future. The stars stretched endlessly, silent and cold. But behind them, death followed. The stolen cargo ship drifted through the void, its engines weak and coughing. Inside, the human sat at the controls, eyes sharp, scanning the endless dark. The alien woman sat beside him, pale and tired, her glowing marks dim like fading embers. They had escaped the colony. They had survived the chase. But they both knew the Empire would not stop. And they were right. Alarms screamed. The human's hands tightened on the controls. Outside, shapes appeared, massive and terrible. 3 warships slid out of the shadows, their hulls covered in crimson symbols, their cannons glowing with hungry fire. The woman's breath caught in her chest. Her marks lit up without her will, sensing the threat. "They found us," she whispered. The human's voice was calm, steady. "Then we make our stand." The warships moved to surround them, cutting off every escape. Fighters poured from their hangars like a swarm of black insects, wings spread wide, weapons humming. The human looked at her. "Can you fight again?" She shook her head weakly. "Too much. I cannot hold them all." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to hold them. Just give me a chance." Her eyes widened. He was only one man. Against 3 warships, against hundreds of fighters, what could a single human do? But then she remembered the market, the soldiers, the fire. He was not like others. He did not bow. He did not run. He stood, always. She nodded. Together. The first wave of fighters came fast, cannons blazing. The humans spun the ship, weaving between bursts of energy. The vessel shuddered under hits, but he kept it steady, his hands quick, his eyes focused. "Now!" he shouted. The woman pressed her glowing hands to the console. Energy surged from her body into the ship. Lights blazed across the panels. The engines roared like thunder. The small cargo vessel leapt forward with impossible speed, diving straight into the swarm. Fighters turned to follow, but their systems froze, weapons shutting down, engines coughing. She had reached into their machines, twisting their hearts with her living code. One by one, they drifted helplessly in space. The human fired the ship's cannons, tearing through the disabled fighters. Explosions lit the dark like dying stars, but the warships were not blind. Their cannons charged, massive beams of light cutting through the void. The humans spun hard, avoiding one blast, but the next clipped the cargo ship. Alarms screamed, metal groaned, the hull cracked. She cried out as the impact threw her against the wall. The glow on her skin flickered. "We cannot win," she gasped. "They are too strong." The human gritted his teeth, sweat on his brow. Every empire thinks it cannot fall, until someone makes it fall. Her eyes widened at his words. He was not fighting only to survive. He was fighting to defy the very power that had chained her all her life. Her marks blazed brighter, stronger than ever before. She pushed her fear aside and reached deeper. The ship itself shivered as her code poured into its systems, turning the small cargo vessel into something alive, something fierce. Panels glowed, engines roared, cannons charged with power far beyond their design. "Then we fight," she whispered. Together they charged the nearest warship. Fighters swarmed, but she shut them down with a wave of her glowing arms. The human fired with deadly precision, each shot striking weak points. Explosions tore across the enemy hull. The warship answered, with a cannon blast, a beam of fire that filled the void. The human jerked the ship aside, but not fast enough. The beam grazed them, tearing through one engine. The ship spun wildly. Smoke filled the cabin. Sparks rained from the ceiling. She pressed harder, her marks glowing until her whole body was burning with light. The ship steadied, her power forcing the broken systems to obey. The human grinned through the chaos. "That's it. Hold them." He dove straight toward the warship's heart. The second and third warships moved in, cannons charging to strike them down. The alien woman cried out, her voice breaking. "Too many! I cannot stop them all!" The human's jaw tightened. Then, "Stop one. I'll handle the rest." She poured everything she had into the nearest ship. Its engines failed. Its shields collapsed. Its weapons went dark. The massive vessel floated helpless, sparks bursting from its hull. The human turned his fire on it, hammering the ship until its core erupted in a blinding explosion. The second warship opened fire, beams slicing past them. One blast struck their cargo ship full on. Metal screamed, systems failed, lights flickered. The woman collapsed, her glow fading. The ship tumbled, but the human fought the controls, his teeth gritted, his eyes burning with fire. "Not yet," he growled. "We are not finished yet." The third warship closed in, preparing the final strike. The Empire's leader appeared on the comm screen, his armored face cold, his red eyes blazing. "Human," he spat, his voice sharp as a blade. "You cannot win. Hand over the girl and I may let you die quickly." The human glared back, his voice steady. "No, she is not yours. Not now, not ever." The leader's eyes narrowed. "Then you both will burn." The woman stirred weakly, her hand glowing faintly as it touched the console. Her voice was barely a whisper. "With you. I am not broken anymore." Her marks flared one final time, filling the ship with light. Systems roared back to life. Engines screamed. The human locked eyes on the nearest warship. "Then let's show them." The cargo ship charged forward, fire and light blazing. Two souls against an empire. The cargo ship shook as if it might tear apart. Sparks flew from broken panels, alarms wailed, and smoke filled the cabin. The human held the controls with iron grip, guiding the crippled vessel toward the enemy warships. Beside him, the alien woman leaned weakly against the console. Her skin glowed in pulses brighter and brighter, though each wave drained her more. She had given almost everything. But still, she whispered, "We must not stop." The human's jaw tightened. "We won't." The Empire's flagship loomed, ahead massive and terrible, its hull like a mountain of black steel. At its command deck, the armored leader stood tall. His red eyes burned as he watched the small ship limp closer. "Pathetic," he said, voice cold through the comms. "A broken slave and a foolish human. Do you think you can defy the Empire? You are nothing." The human's voice answered, steady and sharp. "No, she is not nothing. She is free." The leader's laugh was hollow and cruel. "She is property. She was built for us. You think kindness will change what she is? You think your small defiance will matter against the power of an empire?" The human looked at the woman beside him. Her eyes, once filled with fear, now burned with quiet fire. He turned back to the screen. "Yes," he said, "because I am human. And humans don't bow to tyrants." The leader's face twisted in anger. "Then you will burn together." The flagship's cannons charged, glowing with deadly light. The woman placed her hand on the console, her voice trembling but firm. "One last time. I can stop them, but I will not survive it." The human's hand caught hers before she could release her power. His voice was fierce. "No. You live. You are worth more than dying for them." Her breath caught. No one had ever said she was worth living for. Her whole life she had been told she was a tool, a curse, a price. But in his eyes she saw truth. Her marks glowed, but this time not with despair, with choice. She whispered, "Then we fight to live." The cargo ship roared forward, engines screaming as her power surged through every circuit. Panels glowed, weapons overloaded, shields flared like fire. The small vessel became a blazing comet hurtling straight at the flagship. The warship's cannons fired, but the woman's marks pulsed, twisting the beams, bending their paths. The blasts curved harmlessly into the void. The leader shouted in rage, "Impossible!" The human fired every weapon the cargo ship had. Cannons thundered, missiles streaked, energy beams cut into the flagship's hull. Explosions erupted across its surface, but the massive ship still held. The woman cried out, her body glowing so bright she looked like she was made of light. "I cannot hold much longer." The human's voice was iron. "Hold. Just a little more." The cargo ship pierced through waves of fire, diving closer and closer to the flagship's core. The leader's voice boomed again, desperate now. "You waste yourself for her, human. She is worth nothing. 10 credits, that is all she was valued at." The human's eyes burned as he shouted back. 10 credits bought her freedom, but her true worth cannot be measured. The woman's eyes filled with tears even as light poured from her body. For the first time, she believed it. She was not broken. She was not property. She was alive. She was free. The cargo ship struck the heart of the flagship. Her power surged through its systems, ripping apart its core. Lights flickered, engines failed, weapons died. A chain of explosions spread like fire across the massive hull. The leader screamed as his ship shuddered and cracked. His voice cut through the comms one final time, full of rage and fear. "This is not the end. The Empire will never..." The screen went dark as the flagship erupted in a blinding explosion, tearing apart into burning fragments that scattered across the stars. The battle was over. The cargo ship drifted, damaged and broken, but still alive. Inside, the human slumped in his seat, breathing hard. He turned to the woman. She lay against the console, glowing faintly, her body weak but alive. Her lips moved. We won?" He nodded. "Yes, because you chose it. Because you fought." Tears rolled down her face, but she smiled. Small, fragile, yet real. "Then, I am not broken anymore." The human reached out, steadying her hand. "No, you never were." Far beyond, the stars stretched endless, open, free. The Empire was not gone, but its fleet had been bloodied. Its pride had been shattered, and in the dark, hope had been born. A woman once sold for 10 credits, mocked as worthless, had risen against her chains, and beside her, a human had proven that worth was not decided by markets, nor by empires, but by the courage to fight for freedom. Together they vanished into the void, two lights against the dark, and their story was only beginning.